Welcome back to Boredom Seated. I'm Michael,
And I'm John.
and we're going to continue our videos on Dark Sun. Today, we're going to talk about races, how they are different from other campaign settings. Let's begin with our favorite race, humans. Good old humans.
Ah,
Dark
yes.
Sun, there's nothing special at all. There's no change whatsoever from other second edition humans. The only thing they have going for them is unlimited advancement.
Artificially unlimited advancement, according to the
What do you mean
DM
artificial?
guide.
What do you mean
They,
artificial?
well, they say you can change the demi-humans to not follow the restricted classes if you go to the DM guide. You go to the second edition DM guide, you read it, and it's the most racist stuff you've ever read
Are you
on
sure it's racist?
demi-humans. I mean,
It's
it is the most
racist.
ridiculous
It's
thing.
racist.
I mean,
Why is it racist?
because it's like human supremacist. We can't have the demi-humans being too
Well, the
good
game
because they
was
have too
written
many
by humans.
advantages. They talk about all the advantages the demi-humans have, and nobody would ever play humans if they were left without a restriction. So basically, they artificially restricted so they could push people to humans because they want that fantasy setting. Maybe give the humans something extra so they can actually be good. I don't know.
Well, like I said, that's probably the innate balancing system because humans don't get any special abilities.
Correct.
Stats are unmodified,
Right.
um, and they don't have dark vision. A lot of the races had dark vision, or they had special resistances like elf versus sleep. That
Or longevity in years so that you
Yeah,
can, if someone is planning out a very long life cycle for
yeah,
the way the progression goes with the
yeah.
levels, they can do it. But it's still pretty artificial. Obviously, it was removed in later
It's
editions.
a game balance system, John.
But the game balance and say, hey, your elf can't reach 20th level magician because well they would be too good. Uh, it's like that's the most
That's
artificial.
definitely true here. Some of the level limits were uh, way low than they should
Oh
have
yeah,
been.
some of them were like level 12. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
some of them was like, why would you even bother being that class if you could only go to 12th level? That's not
You
even
wouldn't.
doing any of the good stuff.
And then all the good stuff were in humans, except for half elf on one of them.
Yeah,
Um, and then the
there are.
psionics, of course, they were all unlimited because that's the world. But outside of that, everybody had so many restrictions that you couldn't ever reach the epic level gaming that people would be searching for unless you went human
Yeah,
for three of the four advanced being classes, or half elf for
later
one of
on.
the others.
That's later on. Most people didn't know that during the box set. We're dealing mostly with the box set, but yes,
Yes.
that's definitely true.
But the
Let's
box
move
set,
on to.
but the box set does say that you can go to the DM guide and has optional rules to remove the thing, but they
There's
keep
a lot
saying
of
there,
options going around in
yeah,
Dark
they say
Sun.
there's consequences. No, there's no
Yeah.
consequences. There's no, other than people will not play human. That's the consequence.
Well, Dark Sun was always the one where TSR had a lot of different books that had no actual home to it, or that
Yeah.
most people weren't using that much, like the Psionicist Handbook for one. Now they had a reason. Oh, hey, in the lore, it's there. Boom, you need it for playing Dark Sun, and also we look at later on for fighters. Uh, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but fighters were basically going to be leaders of armies, of war bands, as they grew up in levels. They attracted more followers to the point where it became unwieldy, and you had to use the battle system, which was something that um, it was there for handling army battles in D&D during this time period. Let's move on to the elf. Okay, so the elf in this world is runners. They have like a zen-like ability to just enter like this marathon state and then just chug along. The entire tribes, they don't know elven kingdoms. They're tribes like Bedouins or caravan people, and yeah. Other than that, they're pretty much unchanged.
And they got their own book, a full
Now they got
supplement.
their book, yes, Elves of Athas. That's true enough. Then here comes a really big change. Dwarves. Dwarves are still shorter, stockier. Uh, They still have great resistance to poisons, and they're strong and everything. But on Dark Sun, they got no hair. They got pointy ears, but they got no hair and no beards. One of the
And they had to have a focus, or they automatically turn to undead if they die without reaching their focus.
Yeah, basically what that means is that they had a focus that allowed that they set a goal, a goal that they had to achieve. If they deviate from the goal, they start feeling off, and they want to go back to the goal. And so long as they got this focus going for them, they have a bonus, some advantages. And if they did not succeed in their focus while they're alive, they came back as one of the undead. And
a banshee, I believe, right?
Yeah, dwarven banshees, yes. And yeah, they were there. It's a pretty sad ending to a dwarf's life. Then let's go with your favorite race, the half elf.
Which are shunned
Yeah.
by the elves and most humans, and they're pretty much solo, loners out there, and they try to find their place. But there are a lot of half elves in this world. They even one of the main characters of the main meta plot series was Sadira, the half elf magician, and she was preserver first, and then she got some extra really hardcore powers that were not in the books until later.
OP, please nerf powers. Yeah.
And well, since we're on the dwarf, also we could go with the new one, the Mull.
I was about to get there. I was going through the established races first. Before we get to the Mull, let's go to the halfling because they're always fun. Halflings in this one, think more pygmies, cannibalistic pygmies.
Feral.
They were very feral. Yes, they live in one of the few remaining forests in the entire area. That's cordoned off, partitioned from the rest of the tablelands by the Dragon Spine Mountains, and they are known to be they'll eat anybody or anything. So one of the best role-playing aspects of playing one of these or being in a group, is never ever let the halfling go on watch by himself because he's sizing you all up.
And lore-wise, which we'll get into later, they are the original race of the Athas.
Yes. All right, go on to Mole. What is a Mole?
What is a Mole? Mole is a half-human, half-dwarf. And they are they cannot create any more of themselves. It can only be created by they're sterile. They can only be a human and a dwarf, and that's it. It's the only way to procreate additional moles. Now they're excellent gladiators. They're ridiculously strong. Yeah. So they make one of the top gladiator class, which is the brand new class in Dark Sun, and had its own gladiator handbook. The same, it looks exactly the same like the fighter's handbook of second edition, except instead of a brown leather look, it was a blue leather look.
Yeah. The moles were also known for having tremendous endurance. They have their own chart for laborers. They just kept on. They're like the Energizer bunny. They just keep on ticking.
And they're bred as a slave race inside the city-states.
Yes. True enough. Then, speaking of slave races, or at least those who serve a lot in the cities, the half giant. The half giant is basically the ogre. It's an ogre. It's an ogre with hair.
It's an ogre without being an ogre because, well, there are no ogres.
Think Andre the Giant, except more muscular. That's basically what they are.
10 to 12 feet tall.
And they are actually a race. They're not half human, by the way. They're not half human, half giant. That's just not going to physically work. But one of the beautiful aspects of them, or interesting role-playing aspects, is that their alignment kept changing. You'd pick one aspect of the alignment, whether it's lawful, for instance. And in the morning, the next morning, every morning, they would wake up and you'd roll randomly which of the second alignment, whether it's good, neutral, or evil, that they would wake up as. So they were their nature was pretty mercurial. And also they like to mimic one member of the party. They'll fixate on one member of the party and try and imitate them. Oh, let's go to the last one. This
Oh,
one, the last interesting, the new
Grand
race.
Food.
The
Grand
Thraking.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The Mantis Warriors. What do you remember from these guys?
Multiple attacks, no need to sleep, very little water.
Yeah.
They don't live long, but they don't need to sleep. They only live up to 35 years max,
Yeah.
but they don't need to sleep. So they kind of,
Well, give them an
kind of like
extra
a 50-year-old,
half.
basically.
That's like equivalent they lived in their 50s. When you think about it.
Equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things about them is even though they were, it was always cool just to have to play a monster's race, and that's Dark allowed you to break the mold there because you could be like a Thraking. Most of the time, a Thraking was in the monster manual. You didn't get to fight them or play them. Was the Thraking could create their own weapons. They had a throwing star called the Chatka and a spear called the Githka, and they were made out of a resin. This is why this race is a bit of a cheating race because it didn't suffer from any of the weapon penalties that everybody else had to suffer through, and the Viking can make it. So they like, wow, my weapon's broken. Oh, that's too bad. I just spit and get some glue together or whatever it is they did, and they made it Viking, and they didn't need to drink as much as everybody else. So it was a bit cheesy that way, but it's part of what they are. They were just better adapted to the harsh conditions than normal humanoids.
And they also got their own book.
Oh, yeah, Vikings are Athas? Yeah, they did. Yeah. Well, Darkseid had a heck of a lot of books, and
Now,
they did expand on some of the races. I'm surprised they expand on the elves, quite honestly, because well, it's elves. You think they'd be? Did they do one about the halflings?
they did do a halflings, but it was very late, and it was about the wooded area that people didn't know about. The Ringing Mountains. After Ringing Mountains, there's a forest, and that's where the halflings lived. And they also created new psionic living artifacts. They did a lot of that kind of weird stuff at the very end of the original Dark Sun line.
Sounds like they're
But
throwing a
you may
lot of
have
ideas.
noticed, yeah, but you may have noticed that we didn't mention some classes or some races.
That would be for the lore. That would be for the lore.
Well, there's a reason they did exist at one point on Athas. They no longer.
So did water. So did water. Please. We'll tell you about what happens in a future video.
And that will cover, the gnomes, the trolls, the kobolds, the orcs, and all the others. They did exist at one time.
Yeah. So did metal. All right. So did metal. All right. So that's it for this particular video. Once again, if you enjoyed our video, hit a like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.